and welcome back to the Cousins of the Cosmos podcast.
Woo!
Hell yeah. Today, we are going to review Halloween Havoc 1997. It is October. Right now, it's September as we're recording, but as these come out, it is October. So to get kind of in the Halloween spirit, we have a few Halloween-themed episodes, obviously, that will be coming out. So our review for the month is going to be Halloween Havoc 97. So, Theo, let's start it off. Opening match. Yuji Nagata with Sonny Ono versus Ultimo Dragon.
I want to say before we get into the matches, this is my first time watching a full WCW pay-per-view, front to back.
Okay.
This is the first one ever.
It's not my first time, but it's very rare that I've watched a WCW pay-per-view from start to finish.
Right.
But I have done it over the years. But yeah, it is very rare. So that was something I did want to say when I came up with this idea, was that I was excited to do that because it's been probably years since I've actually sat down and watched a full WCW. I don't remember what WCW pay-per-view it was, last year. I watched one because it was the main event was Ricky Steamboat versus Ric Flair.
Right.
Which is legendary match, but I forgot exactly which one because they've had multiple matches.
Yeah.
But I did do that. Other than that, yeah, it's been years. So I was excited to get into this. But
right.
Opening contest, Yuji Nagata and Ultimo Dragon.
I was unfamiliar with these two games, and this honestly might be my match of the night here. I'm going to be 100% honest. I know there's a heavy hitter coming up,
right.
And I know a lot of people love that match,
mm-hmm.
but this one for me, first time seeing either of these two, first time seeing this match, I'm like, damn, these two showed the fuck up.
They cook. So I've always known Ultimo Dragon because Ultimo Dragon did have a short stint in WWE when I was a kid. It was a little before I was watching, but it was more when you go back and play the games, he was in Here Comes the Pain, and I'm a big Cruiserweights fan, and that's the division he was in.
Right.
So I've always known of Ultimo Dragon, and I've always really enjoyed him. His mask is so cool, but his work is also great. Even in WWE, they didn't do anything with him, but he still had good matches because it's even if it was on Velocity, it's him versus Paul London or him versus Akio before he's Jimmy Wang Yang. They've had, there were good matches there, so I've always known him. Yuji Nagata was more of a recent one, a few years ago. I really realized who that was, but he's a legend in Japan. So I knew, Elias kind of told me more about him and stuff like that because he wrestles for, New Japan still and whatnot. But he's definitely, a legend now. He's not wrestling as much and stuff that.
Right.
But, yeah, they both cooked in this match. This match is great. Really good match, really good stuff. That's what I like about WCW is that WWE will do, they just take people, even now, they'll take somebody from AEW or New Japan or TNA or CMLL or AAA. They just take people. WCW's thing, they've always been like that. Even back in the day, WWE would take people from certain places, right? WCW wasn't necessarily against that because they obviously took people that left WWE and stuff like that, but they would more so kind of work with stuff. So in this case, that's I believe they both were working for New Japan. So they would come over and they would do some WCW shows, but they worked for New Japan, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And they did the same thing with AAA, I believe, where when Rey Mysterio first showed up, I believe it's he was a AAA guy or whatever, but they would come over and work some WCW tapings, and then they would end up maybe buying their contract or something like that. So that's what I've always liked is they do bring a lot of they would bring a lot of people over, and they would say it on commentary, here's the stars from Mexico, and it's these are all clearly guys that aren't signed yet or something like that, but they're on the radar, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, these guys cooked. I do have a funny story. So Sonny Ono was in this match. He was always
he's the manager, right?
Right, yeah, and he was always Ultimo Dragon's manager, but I guess whatever the storyline was that they had a falling out, and Yuji Nagata was the hired bodyguard to take him out, but he's always been Ultimo Dragon's manager for his whole career. I worked with Ultimo Dragon, weirdly enough. WrestleMania weekend 2015, WrestleMania 31 in California was the first WrestleMania weekend that I was a part of. We went and did shows. When I say work, I'm not saying I worked with him in a match or something like that. It's just that I worked on a show with him. We did a couple shows in California, and one of the shows, the main event was Juventud Guerrera versus Ultimo Dragon, and Sonny Ono was there. Juventud Guerrera is awesome. He came up to me. This is a guy that's a legend. He came up to me, shook my hand, and was talking to me for 5 minutes. Never met me before, and was talking to me. So I'm that's really cool. Then I met Sonny Ono. He shook my hand, and he just like kept shaking my hand and smiling. And I was like, okay, this is getting a little weird, but I'm being respectful. Ultimo Dragon, I'd never met because it's like he was like a phantom where you see all the talent before the show in the ring, in the locker room. And maybe he was there, but he wasn't in the mask or something like that, and I just didn't pay attention to it. But to me, I never saw him until he was in the ring for his match. And then after the match, I never saw, like, he was gone. Like, it felt like, and maybe he did that, but I doubt it. It felt like he rolled up 5 minutes before his match, did the match, and then immediately got in the car and left, which maybe he did. But, yeah, so I was like, that's crazy, because I would have loved to have met him, but I thought that was funny as hell. I'm like, those guys like a spirit or something, bro. He just, like, appeared. But, yeah, great match. Second match on is the card. Let me turn off my alarm that's about to go off. My notes though. Hold on. I have a few notes I forgot about. So, Love Ultimo Dragon, great match. The Flock appears.
Yeah.
During this match with Raven, Stevie Richards, and my boy Kidman.
Yeah.
Billy Kidman is there. They don't do anything. They just come to the crowd and sit down. And
that was weird because I was like, "Are they going to do something?" And they were just sitting there. I was like, "Okay."
And correct me if I'm wrong, but they just keep cutting to them in the crowd throughout the night. Yes. But they don't do anything.
They never
nothing
do anything. Yeah.
happens. But I do have in a few of these matches that I think is funny because they cut to the Flock in the crowd, and the only takeaway is that Stevie Richards is just smiling from ear to ear every time they cut to the Flock, and I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
And young Charles Robinson ref this match.
Yes.
Young Lil Nate.
Young Nate.
Yeah. So I thought that was cool. Obviously, he's been around for years. Even there's another ref, Nick Patrick, who's not a ref anymore, but he was in WWE for years, and he refs one of the matches. So it's like I love seeing that too because the refs go so unnoticed. But seeing referees that maybe are still reffing today, like Charles Robinson, who are early in their career in WCW or in TNA or NWA or something like that, is really, really cool. Second match was an unannounced match. This was not on the card. Even when I looked up the card, this was not on the card I looked up, so I had to quickly add this in. Gato versus Chris Jericho. I only have two notes here that it was weirdly unannounced, and it was just an okay match. There was nothing too special about it.
My note is that I missed this match to go set up a doctor's appointment, and it was great for background noise.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah.
I did think it's funny. Peacock clearly edited Chris Jericho's theme song because it's his WWE theme song,
right? Which
clearly he didn't have in WCW. So I thought that was funny because I was like, for a second it got me. I was like, wait, what? I'm like, am I missing something? Did he have this in WCW and they bought the rights to this song or something like that? But I'm like, no, there's no way. So I'm like, whatever his WCW theme song is, they must have not had the copyright to it. Right. So I thought that was funny when he came out and it's like, break the walls down. And I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah, nothing special about this match. But I will say, Gato, who you know nothing about, and I almost know, like I know very little about, but it is funny because that man who was in an unannounced throwaway match on the card that you didn't even really watch, he has been the booker of New Japan Pro Wrestling for the past 10 years. Yeah. Well, probably longer or something like that, but he's like the guy that's in charge of creative for New Japan, which I thought was funny because it's like, you have no clue who this guy is, and it's like, well, he actually...
He's running the show.
Right, not WCW, but he's like running the biggest biggest Japanese wrestling company, and you're just like, who the fuck is this guy?
That's how it'll be sometimes, man.
So yeah, I think that's funny. He's been like the booker, and he also manages like whoever the top heel is in Japan. He manages. So like, I think the first person he managed was Okada. He managed Okada for like years, and then he managed Jay White for like years and stuff like that. So yeah, it's pretty cool. But he's always like been around. Mm-hmm. Third match, the big one for the WCW Cruiserweight Championship: Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio Jr. This. I mean, I know you said the first match was great, but this, to me, is the match of the night. This is the best match. And this is like a match.
It's definitely a close second for me. Right. For sure.
And this is a match that has gone down in history as one of the best wrestling matches. It's Elias's favorite wrestling match of all time. What else can we say? It's just so good. They cook, man. Yeah. These guys knew each other literally like the back of each other's hand. Right. So just great stuff. Another note I had was that Eddie has that aura. He just had...
He has so much aura. Oh my god.
So much aura. That entrance, I mean, he always has aura, but that entrance that night, I don't know what was going on in his head, what he was feeling, but he was just like stank facing it and just felt, I was like, this is the coolest fucking person in the world, bro. He is just so cool. I've always been more favorable to short hair Eddie Guerrero because that's like what I probably just grew up with in like 2004 or 2005 before he passed. But there's something about long hair Eddie Guerrero.
Long hair Eddie's hot, man. He's hot.
When he's got the wet hair and it's just flying around and he's just like, so good.
It works, man.
And I was thinking, not to go too off tangent, I was thinking in the shower the other day, shower thoughts, of how Dominic Mysterio, is such an incredible predecessor to 2 wrestling families.
Yes.
One of which that he's not even technically in.
Right.
But he is like literally the predecessor to the Mysterio family and the Guerrero family. Because Eddie has 2 daughters, Sherilyn and Shaw. Shaw is a wrestler. She was a wrestler. She was in FCW and left, and then she came back and she was in NXT. Before it was like NXT.
Right,
she was in NXT for a little bit, and it just didn't work out. I don't know what, and maybe it just wasn't for her. She didn't want to do it anymore. Sherilyn, as far as I know, she never wrestled or ventured into that. So the Guerrero family name in the wrestling space is not, it's really carried on by Chavo, he's not even really wrestling anymore. So seeing Dom pick up the mantle of both family names and is carrying it, and he is such a great mix of both, where he mixes like his dad's moveset with the 619 and stuff like that, but also has some of Eddie's moveset, but also looks exactly like Eddie Guerrero. Yeah. He literally mixed the Mysterio Guerrero family into one, and is like putting both families on his back and is like taking it uphill, bro. Right. And I'm like, that is kind of unheard of. Like, I can't think of somebody who takes 2 family names like that in the wrestling world and like carries the banner for both family names. So that,
especially even to like an extent, because of just like how much like appreciation and respect, and like how he's just such a big representative of like how Lucha Libre wrestling nowadays, at this point, especially now that he's AAA champion.
He won the AAA championship last night.
So that's obviously awesome. But I mean, I've always just been a big fan of Dominic, and he's always just been on the up and up.
He's great. So that was something I thought of when I saw Eddie, because I'm like, Dom with his like mullet now, I'm like,
it's straight Eddie.
He literally just looks exactly like Eddie. So I love it. But match of the night, in my opinion, one of the best matches ever.
Yeah, you put those 2 together anytime, they're gonna have match of the night, honestly.
Right. Next match. This is where it starts going downhill. Alex Wright versus Steve Mongo McMichael. I only have 2 notes here. One note: Stevie Richards just smiling, because this is one of the matches where they cut to the flock, and Stevie Richards is just doing that, and it's hilarious. And my other note: God damn it, Bill Goldberg.
Dude, this Goldberg ref spot is so fucking bad. Like, the ref, Goldberg is doing this whole spot for at least a minute long, and the ref is trying to argue with the one woman on the outside. I can't remember her name, like the manager.
Oh my God, Deborah, I believe.
Deborah. He's arguing with Deborah, and there are times where I can clearly see the referee looking back at Goldberg as he's hitting people with like spears and jackhammers and whatnot, and then to quickly look away. I'm like, this is so fucking bad.
And he just like randomly takes Steve Michaels' like Super Bowl ring.
Yes,
it's all very weird. There is a note though, because I like to look up when we do these reviews for whether it's a movie or a wrestling pay-per-view. I like to look up the facts.
Right.
Outside of that, there's not a lot of facts here that I found. This is the only note that I found was originally Alex Wright was not in this match. Originally it was supposed to be Jeff Jarrett that was in this match. I believe him and Steve Mongo McMichael had a feud going on, but Jeff Jarrett's contract expired and chose not to re-sign, and he went back to WWF, and so they had to take him out of the match and put Alex Wright in the match. So that was an interesting tidbit that I thought was in there. It was supposed to be Jeff Jarrett, but either way, this match was boring. It got worse when fucking Bill Goldberg showed up, because I can't stand Bill Goldberg. I wasn't even watching, so whatever ref spot you're talking about, I'm just like, because I was not paying attention at all. I tuned out once.
Alex Wright looks like the most basic creator wrestler you can make.
Does he do the dance?
He does the dance.
Okay, that's all he's got.
Yeah.
So, next up, Kurt Hennig versus Ric Flair. This match I actually thought was a good match. I thought it was a decent match, but also it's Kurt Hennig and Ric Flair. So
was this before or after Disco Inferno versus Jacqueline?
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
I skipped it. Okay, Disco Inferno versus Jacqueline. My only note for this match: Disco Inferno fucking sucks. So that's the only note I have for that match.
I thought it was a fun match. I wouldn't say it's a good match. I think it went on for too long.
Right.
I think this should have been 5 minutes tops. Jacqueline winning makes sense to me.
Of course.
My one major note here is Disco Inferno is the most Greg Heffley coded superstar of all time.
Oh man, yeah. My only note is that he sucks. I can't stand him as a person or as a wrestler. So.
Right.
Okay, then we move on to Kurt Hennig versus Ric Flair. Good match. That's really my only note for that.
It was solid.
But like I said, it's Kurt Hennig and Ric Flair. So
right.
2 very good wrestlers, so you put them together, they're going to have a great match. Kurt Hennig is honestly really underrated as a professional wrestler.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Next up, we got Lex Luger versus Scott Hall. I just love Scott Hall.
I love Scott Hall, man. He's awesome.
He is so great.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the best. Larry Zbyszko
Luger too
is the special guest referee in this match.
Yeah.
So my note here is that I have worked with Larry Zbyszko a few years ago, and I sent this to our WNRN group chat, but you didn't see it. Because they also some of them have also like hung out with him and whatnot over the years.
Right.
I said somehow Larry Zbyszko, when I worked with him, it was like 2014, 2015. Somehow Larry Zbyszko, like, it seemed like he rapidly aged until the 90s. He's always looked like an old man.
Right.
Even here in 97, he looks like an old man. So it's like he rapidly aged until the 90s, and then from then it's like he stopped aging because he looked, when I met him and worked with him, he looked exactly the same as he did in 1990. So I thought that was funny. But
my one big note in this, and I don't even really think it's about just this match in particular because I did think it was a good match, but I feel like there's a big issue with this pair, and I don't know if it's across all WCW pay-per-views because again this is the first one I've ever really watched, or if it's just this one in particular, or maybe it's just because I'm used to how like PLEs and pay-per-views have been set up for WWE for like the past like 10, 20 years or whatnot.
Right.
But I need video packages and storylines to be like a part of these like PLEs and pay-per-views. Because I feel like the stories of these matches are so important that without it, it's harder for me to get invested in these sort of matches.
No, I agree because I was thinking too some of the stuff. I was like, I was thinking about. You're right. I was thinking about it because I was like, it's almost without explanation. It's almost like you need to watch at least like the past 3 weeks of Nitro before you watch the pay per view, which we're not gonna do.
Yeah.
But I'm like, maybe a way we can kind of fix that is maybe if we just like go before we're like say we're watching Halloween Havoc 97. I'm sure if we go on YouTube and watch, we could probably watch like a video that kind of recaps certain things going into that or something like that.
Right.
There's something we could probably do to kind of educate ourselves a little bit more on what the stories are.
Right.
Before we like watch a pay per view and stuff like that. But I do agree there needs to be like more storytelling, I guess. But I think back then they probably weren't as concerned with people like now. Streaming is such a big thing.
Yeah.
So WWE is gonna every match on an Extreme Rules pay per view. Every match has like a package to it.
Right.
Because they know like, well, someone may go back and watch this in 5 years and not either they don't know.
Right.
Or they don't remember. They may have watched this live, but they don't remember. So let's give a recap. Whereas back then, they probably just didn't like think about it because they're like, people probably aren't like watching this stuff as often, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, what are you gonna do? You gotta go find the VHS tape and buy it, or DVD if there was a DVD of it. You know what I'm saying? So that's probably part of it is where they just probably didn't think like people are gonna be rewatching this for years to come. Whereas now it's like, yeah, people are rewatching these pay-per-views all day, every day.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's a product of its time. I understand why it's not really in there, but like, it would still be much better with it in there.
My two other notes here was I put Dusty commentary because Dusty is on commentary throughout the night, I believe.
I've been every time Dusty said something, I would just say like the same thing back in like my Dusty voice.
Yeah. I don't remember what the line was, but there was something that made me put that because he was hilarious on commentary.
Yes.
He was just saying like the craziest stuff. It was so good. And the finish, I actually thought was fun kind of finish where Scott Hall kind of like cheated to win or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But then Larry Zbyszko says, no, I want to see the replay of the match.
Yes, absolutely. I wrote this down because I was like, I need this more often to happen in wrestling in general. Right. It's such a good spot.
At least for the special guest, because that's not something that's really done often, but I thought that was such an interesting idea of like him being like, no, I want to see the replay to see how he won.
Right.
Or see what he did before I counted the 3 or whatever it was.
Yeah. And
then seeing it, and then he goes, yeah, no, we're not doing that. Restart the match. I thought that was great. I thought it was a really good idea.
I love it when refs actually use
our
knowledge and use the power that they have.
Right.
It's great.
Next up, we got Randy Savage versus Diamond Dallas Page. First comment here I have is I just love both of these guys.
Yeah.
I think they're both great.
Yeah.
Overall, I thought it was a fun match. I thought it was pretty good. They kind of went around the arena. There was like the spot where I think Savage like body slammed him on like something on the set or something like that. So I thought it was a really good, fun match. Maybe the worst Savage elbow of all time.
Yeah, it definitely was not very
bad.
good. Honestly, I want to bring this up because I do have this note. Mm-hmm. I hated Savage's theme. His theme song, I hated it. So it was just the NWO theme with like the oh yeah every like 30 seconds. I mean, this is fucking terrible.
So I have a note similar to that. Is how many times can I hear the NWO theme song in one night?
Dude, yes! Yes! I'm shocked I didn't write this down. It was like 5 times I heard this fucking theme song.
Maybe this was just a product of WCW because everybody's in NWO, but this whole pay-per-view, at least 15 minutes has been taken up by hearing the NWO theme song at some point.
My god.
In the entrance or in the finish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, I'm tired of hearing like and shit like that. I'm tired of hearing new world order. I was over it. For sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, it was a great match.
Yeah, it was good.
And the main event, the big one, the steel cage match for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, Hollywood Hulk Hogan versus Roddy Piper, who was champion. I didn't realize he was champion. And he retains the championship.
He does retain, yes.
However, my first note here is Hogan technically won this match.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my god. This was like, I was so furious writing this note. I'm like, they literally get out of the cage and then the match keeps going.
So I was thinking, because the door opens and Hogan's like, I'm gonna leave, and then Piper comes up from behind him and kind of like runs both of them out of the cage. But what makes it worse is, I'm not sure who it was, maybe it was Bobby Heenan. Somebody said right before it happens, if Hogan steps out of that cage, he wins.
Yes. Yeah.
And then Piper immediately did that, which you can't even argue like, oh, well, they both went out. Because Hogan stepped out first because he was in front of him.
Yeah.
So Hogan's feet left the cage before Piper's did. So technically
Hogan won that match.
Hulk Hogan did win that match. But yeah, this whole match is pretty insane. The Sting multiverse
It's a
happens.
fucking mess.
This was crazy. At first, Sting shows up, and I went, oh, cool, it's Sting. And then, like, they cut back to him, like, I'm pretty sure that was somebody wearing a Sting mask. Right. That wasn't Sting. And then throughout the match, I feel like it was both of them trying to leave, and they would both get, like, scared off. Because I feel like Piper got scared off by, like, Sting as well.
Right.
They both throughout the match would try and leave the cage or something like that, and a new Sting would appear on stage or in the crowd or something like that. So I was like, this is where we need the story, because I'm like, I'm kind of lost on what's going on here. And we don't actually, do we actually see Sting? I don't remember.
I don't know if any of the Stings were actually Sting.
Right.
That's the thing. I don't know.
Right.
It was crazy too, because during this match, it was like someone said on commentary that like it was revealed that Hulk Hogan was like the Sting, like the first Sting that we see like a few matches beforehand with the Lex Luger match. I'm pretty sure, and it was like I had no idea that was the case.
Right. It's all over the place. But yeah, Piper wins. And they start beating Piper down after he wins. Yep. Oh man, this
it may be one of the worst endings to a show.
So they start beating down Piper as he won, and they're beating him down. Randy Savage hits the ring, who's a member of the NWO. Yep. Which you should know because we heard his theme song.
Right,
playing.
Of course, yeah.
He climbs the fucking cage. Yeah. I almost like jumped out of my bed. He climbs the fucking cage. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when I say the cage, I'm not talking about WWE's version of a cage where the cage sits on the ring apron, like most cages these days. This was almost like a Hell in a Cell style cage where it was around. No top. Right, it was around the ring. There was no top, but it was around the ring rather than on the ring. Right. So there's a pretty, like, 2, 3, 4 foot gap between the ring and the cage. Randy Savage climbs the top of this cage, and I'm like, oh yeah, he's climbing the cage to get in it, and then he stands on top of the cage, and I was like, there's no way. There's no way. There's a giant gap there. There's no way. And
he's like 5 to 7 feet away from like Hogan and Piper.
And and I'm like, there's no way. And then I see his knees go down a little bit. And I'm like, oh my god, what's about to happen here? He jumps off of the fucking cage, hits like a elbow or whatever, but not a normal Savage elbow because both Piper and Hogan are standing up. Piper gets out of the way, so Hogan is left to take the elbow, but Hogan does not take the elbow. He is nowhere near him. And so I just literally watched Randy Savage jump a 5 foot like gap into the ring off of like a 20-foot cage, and I was like, how did he not break his legs? Because he landed on his feet. He landed and then crumbled, and I'm like, I don't know how he didn't break one or both of his legs. That was insane. I was losing my mind when that happened.
It was
insane. And Hogan was nowhere near to like even try and attempt to catch him or anything. That was crazy. So that happens, and they continue to beat him down. They handcuff Roddy Piper to the cell. So he's out there.
The Stings are starting to come in, but then they get beat up. One of them gets unmasked,
Right.
Completely in the match. Looks nothing like Sting.
Right. And then the cream
The
coup de
grace
is that a fucking fan, a actual fan, and when I say a fan, I don't mean a plant and it's like a wrestler who, no, this is a legitimate fan that paid for a ticket, somehow.
A Sting fan. He had the makeup and everything.
The real Sting.
The real Sting.
Steve Borden gets in there.
He was in the front row the whole time wearing a t-shirt and jeans.
Oh, man. He somehow climbs the cage, gets over the cage, and gets inside of the cage. Which, to me, I go, how did security not stop this guy? Because it's not like he slid under the ring,
right?
Like normally happens if a fan gets in the ring. He had to, like, take 5 minutes to, like, get up on the cage and climb it and whatnot. So he climbs the cage, gets into the cage, because from what I imagine was his mindset, was that he was so enraged that Roddy Piper was getting just, like, jumped.
Yeah.
That he thought he needed to do something.
He had to be the Sting in
right,
this
because
situation.
nobody was doing anything. So a legitimate fan gets into the cage, and that may be the worst idea that he could have had, because Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan immediately go, yeah, that's a fucking fan. And it makes it funnier because they both start attacking the fan, but Hulk Hogan is, like, working.
Yeah.
Like, he's, like, throwing work punches on the fan, whereas Randy Savage is dead ass trying to kill this kid.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny, too, because, like, they get all of them in the ring, pretty much, like, all the NWO and this fan, and security are trying to, like, get him out of the ring, but Hogan and Randy are, like, keeping him in the ring to continue beating him up.
Yeah, it was absolutely insane. And that's legitimately how the pay-per-view ends.
That's the end of the show.
It literally cuts to the credits.
Yeah. It's so awful.
It cuts so abruptly to the credits, too, that I was, like, wondering, like, did they edit out a good portion of this? Because it just cuts so abruptly to the credits. Which the credits were very 90s.
Yeah.
It was very retro. And even though it was Halloween themed, it was very 90s Halloween vibe.
Yeah.
I loved it. But, yeah, so that's how the whole pay-per-view ends, is that a fan... Roddy Piper gets handcuffed to the cage. A fan gets in the ring with a bunch of fake Stings around the ring. And the fan gets his fucking ass kicked. So, yeah, that... Oh, my God, bro. That was insane. But overall, this pay-per-view kind of sucked.
Yeah,
there were some good matches. But
like
the stories...
It's like a 4 out of 10 for me, I'd say.
Right. The stories weren't there for us. And, again, maybe that's part on us. But, yeah, Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, and Yuji Nagata and Ultimate Dragon definitely carried.
Those are rewatches, for sure.
Right. With some good matches in between, like the Scott Hall match and whatnot. But, yeah, it was not great. A hilarious ending to a pay-per-view, for sure. But yeah, anything else you want to add? I don't have any facts, like I said.
Yeah,
the Jeff Jarrett one.
Yeah. I don't know. It'd be nice to see shows like... Well, I know like NXT does stuff like this and like Bash at the Beach and stuff like that, but it'd be nice to see them actually do like legitimate like pay-per-views like this where they actually like set up the stage for like all this sort of stuff. I think that'd be super cool.
Yeah, because NXT has it, but it's like they put like Party City props.
It's like Party City props, and it's like the normal stage and stuff. Right. And it's not even really like sometimes even appealing. Sometimes it's just like another episode of NXT, and I'm like, that's kind of lame.
Right, for sure. But
it's such a cool concept.
It's a very interesting pay-per-view for sure. We hope you all enjoyed watching. Leave your comments and your thoughts on Halloween Havoc 97. And other than that, I guess happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween, yeah.